This is peanuts, and I appreciate everybody putting up with it for a little while. It won't be much longer, but you're going to have, and frankly, there is so much oil out there. One of the things that is happening is these big ships are coming up to Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska, and they're loading up. But I don't even think about that. What I think about is you can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
This is fucking disgusting. For a sitting president to sit up here and call these high-ass gas prices at the pump peanuts shows a complete disconnect from the average American. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Today we'll be talking about this Iran war and the confusion that Donald Trump is putting out there. He's been flip-flopping between having a peace agreement and dropping bombs a couple days later. So yeah, we'll be digging a little bit deeper into that, and I'll be reacting to this The Franco Show YouTube video. I hope y'all enjoy it. And yeah, let's get into it.
It's more on the international stage. And that because you have the US launching all new strikes on Iran, the regime's vowing to retaliate, and Israel's now using this latest escalation as cover for an expansion of its occupation and invasion of Lebanon. And all of this is coming within 24 hours of Trump once again implying that a deal to end this could be imminent. He kicked off the day yesterday claiming that negotiations with Iran were proceeding nicely, though he then added, "It will only be a great deal for all or no deal at all. Back to the battlefront and shooting, but bigger and stronger than ever before, and nobody wants that." Also in that post, he pushed for an expansion of the Abraham Accords, referring to agreements that he helped broker to normalize relations between Israel and some other countries in the region.
He doesn't sound like he knows how to negotiate at all. I mean, especially in a situation like this where apparently Iran still has its arsenal, still has its nuclear material.
Region, right, with him also saying that it should be mandatory for Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and a few others, including two that already have diplomatic relations with Israel, to join. He even claimed that once a deal is struck, Iran could take part, writing, "Wow, now that would be something special. This will be the most important deal that any of these great but always in conflict countries will ever sign. Nothing in the past or in the future will surpass it." And yeah, you have many experts saying that would definitely be something special. And that's because it seems extremely unlikely that any of those other countries, let alone Iran, would be signing anytime soon, especially since it's not really clear whether there's actually been true progress on a deal to end the war. The latest U.S. proposal is reportedly focused on ending Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, with potentially leaving some of the most contentious issues to be dealt with later. So we're talking about things including sanctions relief, the release of frozen Iranian funds, and Iran's nuclear program. You know, those.
Wow. There's no point to anything that we accomplish in this war. They've already rebuilt their missile systems. They've already rebuilt their weapon systems and everything. There's news reports telling us this. I don't get how so many people are still being fooled by this guy.
Those little things, with the key questions on that last one being how it's going to dispose of the already highly enriched uranium and the length of any potential moratorium on enrichment. And actually with that, you had Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson claiming just yesterday, the focus of the negotiations is on ending the war, and at this stage, there is no discussion about nuclear details. So you had Trump claiming in another post that the deal being negotiated would address the nuclear issue, with him also saying it would be the exact opposite of the nuclear agreement reached under Barack Hussein Obama and the rank amateurs of his.
These people are not even in agreement on what they're negotiating about. Is Trump even involved in these talks at all? The Iranians are saying that the nuclear situation is off the table, but Trump's saying it is.
Administration, which of course he called, as he has many times before, one of the worst deals ever made by the United States. Right, well, under that Obama deal, Iran turned over most of its uranium stockpile to Russia, and enrichment was capped at 3.67% for 15 years, and then Trump, on the other hand, has called for a full moratorium on enrichment for 20 years, though notably that came after having repeatedly insisted in the past that the country should never be allowed to do so, with Trump also demanding that Iran surrender its new stockpile, almost 1,000 pounds of near weapons-grade uranium acquired since he pulled out of the Obama deal, to the United States. And now he's ever so slightly walked back that demand as well, with him saying in yet another post yesterday that an alternative would be for Iran to destroy the material, with the Atomic Energy Commission, or its equivalent, being witness to this process and event. Now, notably with that, the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission actually hasn't been around since 1974, so I'm thinking that he's referring to the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is the UN nuclear watchdog. So for the sake of moving forward, we'll just assume that it was that. But Trump's ramblings about, what's going to come when the war ends, they were also followed up with a show of force that threatened to prolong the conflict, right, with U.S. strikes reportedly targeting missile launch sites in southern Iran. And
this is crazy. I don't understand. Is he forgetting what he said a couple days prior to what he's doing now? Like, he's telling the American people that he has a deal on the table, that we're close to having a deal. Then the very next few days, he's bombing these people again. This doesn't seem like a president that's thinking rationally at all.
boats that were trying to place mines. The military saying that their actions were in self-defense and meant to protect U.S. troops from threats posed by Iranian forces. And then as far as Iran, they claim to have shot down an American drone and forced a fighter jet to turn around, something that also stands out when you consider how often that Trump's claimed that Iran's ability to defend itself has effectively been obliterated. And with that, it's important to know that even American intelligence agencies don't appear to agree with Trump. They've reportedly found that Iran's regained access to most of its missile sites, launchers, and underground facilities, including 30 of 33 missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz.
This whole war is just a complete waste of time. Like, it's clear as day. We have accomplished nothing but increasing gas prices, driving up inflation. These are the things that we accomplished. Giving our so-called allies in the region excuses to bomb other people, other regions. This is not right.
It's as senior American military officials have also voiced concern about dwindling stockpiles of long-range missiles and other munitions, right? The same kind of equipment needed to destroy Iran's fortified underground missile sites. But then also with this, you have Iran's foreign ministry accusing the United States of violating the ceasefire agreement, arguing that the latest strikes undermine diplomatic efforts to end the war. Also, the Revolutionary Guard warned that the violation justified a decisive reciprocal response. And you had the Supreme Leader, whose father, of course, the previous Supreme Leader, was killed by American-Israeli strikes on the first day of the war, similarly suggested that his country would not back down, writing, "The hands of time do not turn backward, and the nations and lands of the region will no longer serve as shields for American bases." America, in addition to no longer having a safe place for aggression and military bases in the region, is moving further away from its former status day by day. Though despite all of that, you had Secretary of State Marco Rubio telling reporters that talks were still continuing. And on one hand, he said that a deal could be finalized within a few days, but then on the other hand,
How does Rubio expect a deal to happen while you're bombing these people at the same time? Is that a negotiation tactic? Like, why would I negotiate with somebody that's actively trying to kill my people? Why? I have no reason to. I have no reason to negotiate with you at this point. We're already at war. I don't understand how the American government, our government, can expect to be taken seriously if we cannot even stand up and stand behind the words that we are speaking on a public stage. Whether we like it or not, Donald Trump is that mouthpiece that's spewing the words that represent America. And what Donald Trump is doing is lying every 24 to 48 hours. And the people around him are lying every 24 to 48 hours. This is insanity.
he left kind of the door wide open for failure.
There's going to be a deal. We're going to have to work through that. But this is, it's either going to be a good deal or there isn't going to be one.
Iran's foreign ministry spokesman also confirmed that talks were still happening, but rejected Rubio's timeline, saying it is correct to say that we have reached a conclusion on a large portion of the issues under discussion. But to say that this means the signing of an agreement is imminent, no one can make such a claim. But either way, while, these latest U.S. strikes might not have derailed peace talks entirely, recent events in Lebanon, they do have the potential to complicate negotiations. Right? And that's because
And this is what I'm saying. This whole Iran war situation has given everybody an excuse to go ahead and just start taking whatever land that they think is theirs.
Iran has said that it wants Lebanon protected in any agreement. But yesterday, you had Netanyahu announcing that Israel would instead intensify strikes on the country in response to Hezbollah's recent drone attacks, which have actually proven to be relatively effective at penetrating Israeli air defenses. So of course, this whole thing, it is still highly asymmetrical. Hezbollah has reportedly killed 24 people in Israel, while Netanyahu claimed that Israeli forces had killed more than 600 Hezbollah fighters in recent weeks. And the overall death toll in Lebanon since early March has now reached 3,000.
Wow. So they went through over 3,000 people just to get 600. That's crazy. I mean, they're not even trying at this point. Like, it's one thing, the fact that we're enabling this crap, and it hurts to know that, we are assisting in doing this stuff to people that have nothing to do with any type of hostility towards America or any of our allies. Majority of that 3,000 people had nothing to do with any hostilities towards America or any of our allies, but yet they still lost their lives because they live in a different area.
185 people, according to Lebanon's health ministry, with hundreds of thousands of people displaced. And with that, while Hezbollah claimed several attacks against Israeli troops in southern Lebanon last night, the Israeli military said that it struck more than 100 targets in the country. And today, they ordered residents to evacuate one of southern Lebanon's largest cities and expanded its ground operations beyond the so-called Yellow Line, which is the line marking the boundary of the occupied Lebanese territory that Israel described as a buffer zone. In addition to all that, Israel's now reportedly pushing the United States to give Israel free rein in Lebanon and any proposed peace deal with Iran. With one far-right Israeli minister thus same one who went viral for his treatment of detained foreign activists, saying in a press conference yesterday, "The time has come for the prime minister to bang on Trump's desk and inform him that we are resuming the war in Lebanon. We must cut off the electricity in Lebanon, conquer more territory, and return to high-intensity warfare." And then also,
It's hard to beat the allegations at this point. I mean, if you don't see the aggression coming from that country, if you don't see the aggression coming from some of its politicians within that country, and see the way that they're talking about some of the people that can't even defend themselves in some of their neighboring countries, I don't see how anybody can continue to support that. I don't know.
another far-right minister who actually said that the Trump administration is the most supportive one ever, he reportedly argued yesterday that for every drone, 10 buildings in Beirut will come down. And if there were 7, then 70. And if 15, then 150. If the buildings in Beirut run out, then we'll move on to other parts of Lebanon. So that is what he said out in the open, on camera. And it's also far from the first time that he said something.
These guys are talking about wiping out whole civilizations. They're talking about grabbing land. They're asking the Trump administration to give them free reign over that entire area. For this president to campaign on peace, it doesn't look like there's going to be much peace in the future. But I just don't get it. For those out there that still support Israel and their mission to start wars with their neighbors to grab land and expand their state, this is, what else can you compare it to? Like, let's be real here.
Like that. So the U.S. and Iran talks, they're often kind of the main focal point. We then also cannot forget about what Netanyahu and these other political figures are doing and what's happening in Lebanon.
As Donald Trump continues to get involved in the Middle East, our gas prices over here in America continue to go up and shoot up on a daily. It seems like our administration, our leaders in the White House seem to not care at all, but we're going to get into it with this video. I hope y'all enjoy it.
The national average now stands at $4.56 a gallon. President Trump says, again, he's not thinking about these rising prices.
This is peanuts, and I appreciate everybody putting up with it for a little while. It won't be much longer, but you're going to have, and frankly, there is so much oil out there. One of the things that is happening is these big ships are coming up to Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska, and they're loading up. But I don't even think about that. What I think about is you can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
This is fucking disgusting. For a sitting president to sit up here and call these high-ass gas prices at the pump peanuts shows a complete disconnect from the average American. It really does. I could care less how people feel about what I'm saying. Like, honestly, this president is a complete imbecile if he honestly thinks that the increase in prices at the pump are peanuts to the average American. I don't see how conservatives can still support this guy. I don't see how a lot of those MAGA supporters can still complain about inflation, higher prices, been doing it for the past 4 years under Biden. But under this guy, he did it willingly. He started this war. This was self-inflicted. Iran was not a serious threat to America. This president is unfit. This president is completely unfit.
CNN's Matt Egan is with us now. Peanuts, he says.
Yeah, John, look, this is a challenging situation. You've got high demand colliding with low supply. That's never a great combination. And that is why drivers this holiday weekend should be bracing for historically high prices. So that it remains closed, the higher the gas prices are going to go. And I know the president dismissed this as peanuts, but Brown University has been tracking in real time the impact to consumers. And they found that higher energy costs are costing Americans $43 billion just since the war started. That's on.
That is disgusting. That is $43 billion that did not have to come out of the American economy, come out of average American pockets. That's $325 per household. Like, I know rent is high, but that $325, that goes a long way for a lot of households, especially the lower income households that has no choice but to pay these higher gas prices. Yes, if you're making more money, you're able to pay these higher gas prices a little bit easier. But imagine the people that's already struggling before this war popped off, that was already struggling before our president decided to go on this crusade to try and take nuclear material from a state. I just don't understand how MAGA or conservatives can still support this guy and still claim to have the backbone that they claim to have.
On gas, that's on diesel. And on a per family, per household basis, that works out to $325 That, of course, is hardly peanuts. And what's notable is that the 3 states that are experiencing the biggest price increase over the past year for gasoline are all 3 states that Trump won in 2024. Ohio, Alaska, Michigan, all of them more than $1.60 a gallon more expensive than this time last year. And
and that's why every Republican in the country is scared right now for the midterms. They know what's coming. They know that these high gas prices, it's not going to be a good thing at the polls for them, especially in these conservative or leaning red states. Well, Michigan is kind of a swing state. Ohio is a swing state, but Alaska is red. Yeah, these are states that Trump needs. Well, the next candidate that would run for president needs to win. Like,
to a retired mechanic from Illinois, which is the state experiencing the 4th biggest increase over the past year. And he told me that he's living off of Social Security with his wife, and he said these high gas prices are just killing him. He said he wants to go visit his great-granddaughter living a few hours away in northern Illinois, but he feels like he can't because it's just too expensive. So I think this is just another reminder that for people who are living off of a fixed income, for lower income families, high gas prices, it's anything but peanuts. It's all too real.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Ohio, Alaska.
man, that shit's disgusting. I mean, I'm sorry for cussing, but shit's disgusting. It really is. It for our leaders to be this blatant about not caring about these price increases. This is the same president that had groceries just laid out on a stage and him holding it up like a prop. We're living in an idiocracy. We gotta be.
GOP Trump net approval on fuel and gas prices. You go back to last summer, look at this. It was plus 51. Look at it now, -4. Again, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a 55-point shift away from the president of the United States on the key issue of gas prices. So on, again, something that is impacting Americans day to day. Inflation, a part of that is gas prices. Of course, the inflation on gas prices has been out of control. The president of the United States is underwater on the key issue of gas prices. This isn't just something about the center of the electorate. This is with Donald Trump's base.
And the sad thing is, it's not finna go down anytime soon. And when gas prices go up, the price of everything else goes up because everything is shipped on the truck. So, I mean, this is going to be a compounding issue for the rest of the year, at least.
As well, this is a huge shift. He's underwater again, the floor completely collapsing underneath.
And this is just within the last year. That's a 1-year shift, not even from before the election.
Okay, Republicans' top issue, the economy and the cost of living. You know, you go back to the beginning of this year, it was 43% it was the top issue. Now it's even more of the top issue. The clear majority of Republicans saying the economy and the cost of living is the number one issue, an issue on which Donald Trump's numbers are absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore. The economy is bad and the cost of living is getting worse. People are struggling. Gas prices are going up. Prices of groceries are going up still. Donald Trump is doing nothing to fix anything. He's enriching his own pockets. If you invested in that Trump cell phone, I'm sorry. If you invested in that Trump coin, it's mostly owned by Saudi Arabian investors. So good luck with that. His son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is filling his pockets over there. It's all types of different things happening that's only enriching the people around Trump or that was loyal to him. That $1.7 billion, that's for people that was supportive of Trump. That's why he's deciding on who gets that money. That's the whole point. If he didn't care, he wouldn't be involved. But he's highly involved in the decision-making process.
Absolutely falling through the floor of multiple polls showing him underwater on inflation.
A creaky floor.
A very, very creaky floor.
Harriet, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
According to AAA, the price of gas is $4.49 this morning. That's still up more than $1.50 since the war began. But according to President Trump and members of his administration, those prices are going to come down quickly as soon as the war is over.
Once the national security objectives of Operation Epic Fury are fully achieved, Americans will see oil and gas prices drop rapidly.
When this operation draws to a close, we're going to see those energy prices come back down.
They would go down quite a bit. You know, if we see a pathway to have the Straits of Hormuz open soon and energy flowing again, you'd see energy prices drop pretty significantly.
Prices are going to come down very quickly.
They'll drop lower than they were before. As soon as it's over, you're going to see gasoline and oil drop like a rock. You're going to see oil prices plummet. They're going to come down.
All right, CNN Business.
Yeah, we have no reason to believe this guy after he said that this war would last 2 weeks, then 4 weeks, then a month pass. Now, it's crazy that these guys will sit here and tell people that the prices will come tumbling down, that as soon as this conflict is over with, as if they know what's going to happen. If these guys knew what was going to happen, we wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. We would have the Strait of Hormuz secured before this war even popped off. Like, that's what strategic planning is. Like, that's what intelligence does for a nation like America. This is insanity to me, that the fact that this administration gets so much leeway, this administration gets treated with baby hands, but you drug the black president for wearing a tan suit. That's crazy. But let me go ahead and wrap this video up. If there's any Republicans or conservatives or MAGA people out there that wants to debate me, feel free to give me a shout out. Feel free to comment under this video. Feel free to shoot me a message. I will be live streaming a couple times a week throughout this week. So yeah, catch me then. I'll be doing call-ins and stuff like that. So don't forget to follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all next time.